Story 1. That is when I realized that some of life's most profound gifts come not from what we gain, but from what we learn to live without. Story 2. As they walked away, a part of me stayed with them, in a life we would never live but always dreamed of. Story 3. I think Noah Kahan expressed it well with, I'll dream each night of some version of you that I might not have, but I did not lose. Story 4. In the end, that is all we were, ghosts. Distant, ephemeral, mysterious, and magical. Always worlds apart. We just happened to pass through each other for a brief moment before we both disappeared again into the void. Story 5. Within my final moments, the smell of lilac and lavender wafts gently in a breeze that carries a final sweet echo of her voice. Story 6. With the memory of the first time she smiled at him, he left her grave and went home to cook for his wife and children. Story 7. We said our goodbyes, and I still think back from time to time, remembering the precious memories we had together. Then the feeling came to me. She was flirting with me. Story 8. What I dislike about myself is that I know I would forgive her for the 1,000th time if only she apologized or explained. However, I know her well enough to understand that she will not. Story 9. I realized I never loved him for who he was. I loved him for what I made him out to be in my own mind. It is nobody's fault but my own. Story 10. Then he learned that he had fallen in love with himself. He took and gave away the same love and was filled with dismay. Story 11. So I'm going to say, I don't care about her anymore. Actually, I believe this is a good thing to express. The sooner you stop being affected, the sooner you'll be happy again. Story 12. Because I could not love you for the moon swept you off your feet. The stars kissed your rose-tinted lips, and the sun held you close, far away from my reach. I still longed for you, my dear. Story 13. She continued to do what she was good at, using people and discarding them when she had no further use. I was left to pick up the pieces again. Story 14. It was at that point that I realized I couldn't stay and wait for something to happen to a good relationship. I needed to move on. Story 15. As I closed my eyes, I knew that I would carry you with me forever. A bittersweet reminder of the love that slipped through my fingers. Story 16. Not goodbye, farewell, or even see you later. Just a last look, a firm set of the chin, and no regrets for trying. Story 17. With all the longing, dreaming, and wishing, he came to realize that life wasn't unfair. He was fair to himself. He knew she used him, stringing his heart along until it was too late. He understood she would never see him as anything more than a convenience when he deserved more. As he shut the door behind him, it signified a new chapter, one full of self-love and growth. No matter how hard it was, he would prevail. Story 18. All I can do now is hope that our fates are different in another universe, and maybe in one of them we have a chance. Story 19. Picturing you once brought me comfort and joy, but now it only brings me pain and sorrow. Story 20. I have loved other men. I have found happiness in fleeting moments. I have led a life I can be proud of. But still, sometimes I wish it could have been with him. Story 21. Perhaps in another life, the hopeless romantic in me will be delusional forever, even in another life. Story 22. I don't know what the last line would be, but I have a concept for a book I plan to write. The character is tired of dating ordinary men and feels unmotivated in life. One day, she jokingly writes herself a note saying, "I'm proud of you, love you." She hides it in her desk and forgets about it. A couple of days later, she surprises herself with her own note, which gives her a warm feeling. From there, she creates a fictional boyfriend to motivate herself in life. The longer she plays this game, the more real he becomes, until things eventually escalate. If anyone has read a story very similar to this, please let me know so I don't waste my time writing it. Story 23. She was just another coworker that you will barely remember in a year or two when one of you changes departments. Story 24. I learned that we may be the right two-dimensional puzzle piece to fit together, but we resonate in space and time as well. Story 25. A basket of oranges? You seriously sent me a fruit basket as a thank you for breaking up with me? Yes. Story 26. That's why I detonated the nuclear bombs. Because if true love doesn't win, you are not living in a world that deserves to exist. Story 27. Once again, I let go of your hand, this time unable to feel your touch, for the earth was eagerly waiting to embrace you. Story 28. Contact LC Sign for the best in your business advertisement needs. We use high-quality acrylic available in many colors that won't fade in the sun like the competition. Story 29. So I will continue to hold my breath as I look for your face in every person I pass on the street. Scared that it is not you and scared that it is. Story 30. Met a girl, thought she was grand. Went well for a week or two. Then it all came unglued. Story 31. It was at my lowest point, 34 years later, that she reappeared in my life. I was in intensive care, barely alive, and she worked on the ward I was to be moved to. If only I had known at the time and not months later. Story 32. I'd borrow from Maria Hornbacher's last line in her book Wasted. There is, in the end, the letting go. Story 33. As I watched them walk away, carrying my heart with them, I realized that some loves are meant to stay where they were born, in the quiet, impossible corners of our souls. Story 34. I watched as his white shirt slowly became crimson from the 2 bullets I had shot into him. I kneeled over his head as he gasped, "Why?" "Because I love you," I replied as I tenderly stroked his forehead. Story 35. I had always known it would come to this. I had always known that I would end up naked and pleasuring myself as I ran from airport security. Story 36. And when I finally walked away, I felt in my heart it was the right thing to do, as he did not see me for who I was, and his misjudgment would not have made for a happy couple. Story 37. As I stood over her lover's grave, I found solace in the knowledge that she cannot have the one she yearns for either. Story 38. You will get over them eventually, whether while alive or after you have passed. I am finally getting there. Hopefully, I do not revert to that mindset of always thinking about her. Story 39. And I am still not allowed back in the building, even though the Christina Ricci fan club does not meet there anymore. Story 40. I forgot more than you will ever know about her. When you wake up in the morning, baby, look inside your mirror. You know I will not be next to you. You know I will not be near. I would just be curious to know if you can see yourself as clearly as someone who has had you on his mind. Story 41. There you go again, a sight I see too much. My eyes get tired from seeing your silhouette. I'd rather be caught in the light of your face than in the cold shadows of a turned shoulder. What more do I stand for if nice guys finish last? Will I be better off conforming to nothing? You kill off a dying breed. You forced us to quit. Sick of being last when the winners deserve to suffer. I would throw in the towel if I didn't have to dry my tears. What is there to gain from a wasteland of man? A chance lost at happiness and an eternity of sadness. I wrote this a long time ago. It feels appropriate. Story 42. As she read the Valentine's card I gave her in class, she looked around, and I realized she didn't know my name. Story 43. I would take Bruce Hornsby's lyrics from Mandolin Rain. I will do my time, keeping you off my mind, but there are moments that I find I'm not feeling that strong. Story 44. She was the one, my everything, but now I can see that my hope for love in the future is gone forever. There is nothing left for me in this world. There is no point to my existence. There is no reason for me to continue. Oh wait. Someone just walked by who is attractive. Excuse me. Story 45. She laughed to herself as she walked away, flicking her cigarette into the rain-soaked street. The Rolling Stones had it right. You can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. Story 46. In the end, she could never give up her love of peanut butter and banana sandwiches, and I really did not want to experience anaphylactic shock again. Story 47. Some things are impossible, like breathing underwater or flying over the ocean. We can merely imitate the things that are truly grand, and in doing so, we create the mundane. That was the last time I saw her, but it will never be the last time I think of her. To be with her would be impossible, but she will always be with me. This is my new normal. Story 48. And off he went. My heartache never fully healed, but it was the one that paved the way for the love that put limerence to shame. Story 49. They never tell you that your soulmate might be the one you left sitting in section 253, row 12, seat 3. Story 50. I will love her until my last breath. When I take that last breath, it will be her name that will be my final word. Story 51. Slowly shaking his head and putting the tattered photograph back in the drawer, the old man returned to his puzzle and waited for the kettle to boil again. Story 52. It was a fairy tale ending. He saw her sleeping peacefully, looking very beautiful, and in the nearby beds, he saw her band of 7 dwarfs cozily snoring away. Quietly, he closed the door behind him, turned towards his horse, climbed on it, and took off into the darkness. It was time to pay a visit to Rapunzel next. Story 53. In the end, that closed the last chapter of the relationship and all that had occurred. Our lives continued onward. But obviously, dear reader, this begins a whole new adventure that requires a new book. Story 54. Never again will I fall in love with a gay man. Although I must admit, if the man doesn't tell me he is gay, I have no idea how to avoid that. Story 55. As I lay down to sleep, your grave my bed, your headstone my pillow. I dreamed that you could reach through the earth that now surrounds you and hold me as it holds you. Story 56. The world may spin toward an endless fate, but mine has simply ceased to exist in this universe we call connection. Story 57. Finally, I found myself at the end, the final stage. Acceptance. I had grieved what was never mine to lose. Or was it the beginning, the start of finding what is mine? Either way, I discovered myself. Story 58. He got a restraining order against me, which I found insulting, and I never approached him again. Story 59. I will love you in my heart and in my dreams because it is the safest place I can have you all to myself. Maybe in another lifetime, things will be different. But until then, I will keep you safe in my heart and your memories in my mind. Story 60. We had been 2 broken people, using each other to forget the reality we faced, and I will find so much more without him. Story 61. The song Words by Passenger always made me feel this way, as if the timing is never right. It ends with, I could have told her that I adored her, and she could have said she felt the same way, but we just smiled because sometimes words aren't the right words to say. Story 62. I knew then that my future would not include him physically, but he changed me enough that he would always be present in the corners of my life. Story 63. The tragedy was not that I loved someone I could not have. It was that I gave everything to someone who never deserved me. Story 64. The police rounds found their mark, and he collapsed in a hail of gunfire, his life essence flowing out of him and onto the cold sidewalk. With his last breath, he sighed, Sarah. Story 65. I spent my childhood and teenage years chasing and waiting for a boy, but no matter what happened, he would always choose the same type of girl. He didn't need to die. He could have chosen me. We could have had a suburban home with 2 lovely children who shared features like his and mine, and a dog. We could have lived until we grew old and passed away together. That remains only a dream, an unreachable one. So this is the end of his story. However, mine has just started, filled with all the mistakes I made. Story 66. As I sat in the hotel room he had paid for, dressed in my morning gown and watching his flight depart the island, I never imagined that moment would signify the end of us. With each mile separating us, the distance deepened the ache of my heartbreak. Thanks a bunch for sticking around till the end of the video. Remember to subscribe, and until next time, stay awesome and goodbye.